it's your friend Kelly Dell here with Off the Beaded Path beadstore.com. Today we're going to talk about a subject that it gets brought up to me weekly, and that is slide connector tubes. On a weekly basis, someone will call, someone will email, and they will ask, I have a bracelet. What size slide tube do I need for this bracelet, or what can I use? Well, here's the deal. Without it in front of me, it's hard to tell you now because there's so many different finishes of beads, brands of beads, and all of that takes into account the slide tube that you're going to use. So I have spent the last 2 weeks coming up with a comprehensive 10-page packet that will tell you all about slide tubes. So the first thing you need to do is you need to head on over to offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com and get this download for what we're going to talk about today. So if you'll look right below the video, you'll see the title of the video. It'll start to explain it and it'll say more. Click on that more and it brings up the video description box, and we have a direct link to this pattern so you can go get it. If you're watching this in real time, I also will have it listed on the homepage of the website for you. But you'll need to go and get this before you finish the video so you'll understand step by step how we are going to talk about this today. This is going to be something that every single beader who works with seed beads will want to print out and keep at their bead desk, because I personally feel like this will be such a huge help to all beaders who deal with seed beads. So head on over, grab that free download, and let's get started. So on page 1 of your packet, you'll notice it says, what is a slide tube? Well, simply stated, they're hollowed out tubes that can slide over the top of your beadwork to make finishing the ends of your work much easier. It also gives a much cleaner, professional look to the finish of your piece. So I put an example here of what a slide tube looks like. But when I say it gives a nice finish, this is an earring that I have made and have finished off the top of that with a slide tube. It just gives it a really, really nice, professional, crisp, clean finish. So that is a slide tube. Now the slide tubes come in different lengths. They come in different diameters. So that's what we're going to learn about today, are the different widths and diameters and what beads that you can use with each diameter and width. So starting on page 2 of your packet, you'll notice here at the top, it says Beadsmith Miyuki slide tubes. These slide tubes look identical to what I just showed you here on my earring. These are promoted as being able to use an 11 delicate and an 11 Miyuki seed bead, but when I started playing, I found that you can't actually use a round bead inside of this tube. It does not fit. So I'm going to show you, and we're going to talk about the sizes that will fit. Now, this currently comes in a 10, a 15, a 20, a 35, and a 60 millimeter. I don't carry the 10 or the 60, but if I ever do, I will add them to this packet. So you'll notice when you look at your packet, how I set up each page is first, I have the size of the tube that we're going to talk about. And this number here is the SKU number. So if you wanted to look up the SKU number on the website, it would take you straight to the item, which is pictured here. Now, you will notice you then have a picture, and listed from bottom to top, I have on here listed sizes that will work and the bead counts for that specific tube. So for a 15 millimeter slide tube, and I've got my little samples here so we can actually see those here. So with these Miyuki slide tubes, we can use a 15-0 Miyuki seed bead, a 15-0 Toho seed bead, and an 11-0 Delica seed bead. So if we go from the picture here, from bottom to top, with this specific slide clasp, and you can see down here, I have put a picture so you can actually measure your beadwork against what I have on the ruler. So this is an inches ruler, and you'll be able to tell if you are using anything small like this and you don't specifically know the sizes, you can use the measurement that I have here to be able to decide if your piece will fit or not. So from an 11-0 Miyuki seed beads, you can do 14 even count beads, or you could also get by with a 13 odd count. Now, this is whether you are doing peyote stitch or square stitch. The middle picture here is a 15-0 Toho seed bead, and 12 even count beads will fit. When I say even count, what that means is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 beads up and down here. This is an even count across. The odd count just means it would be an odd number. And then finally, our 11-0 Delica bead here. 11 beads odd count will fit, but you could also get by with 10. So again, if I show you my earring that I made earlier, this has, I believe 11, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, this one has 11 beads odd count. So I could also get by with one less bead, but if I do, it's going to move around a whole lot inside of that tube. So I probably would not do that. So this is now our 15 millimeter slide tube. Inside measures about 9/16 of an inch or 1.42 centimeters. And again, you have your bead counts here for it and the size of the tube. Next up on our page, we have the 20 millimeter Miyuki slide. You'll see you have your picture there, and these are what those look like. And these have this SKU number here, and they measure 3/4 of an inch to 13/16 of an inch is our actual slide tube length. Now again, you have 3 different type beads that are going to work. You have your 15-0 Miyuki round seed bead. You have your 15-0 Toho bead, and you have your 11 Delica bead. So again, from top to bottom on this specific size slide, 18 or 19 beads will fit in my peyote. If I'm using Toho, 17 odd count beads will fit. And if I'm using my Delica beads here, 14 even count beads. And again, I put this note on here that I tried the 11-0 Miyuki rounds and the 11-0 Preciosa rounds, and they would not fit inside of this tube. So again, I have your picture of the tube, and you can see there how long that tube would be so that you could actually lay your piece up next to a ruler and see if it is going to fit that size tube before you purchase the tubes. Next up in your packet is going to be the 35 millimeter slide. Now you'll notice this one looks different because you see it has 2 loops here. So these loops mean, and I put a note here, that you would need to use 2 clasps, or you could use chain to connect these, that you would have a clasp up here, but that is going to take up more room. I like to use a magnetic clasp that has a little safety chain attached. So again, this is our 35 millimeter. Again, it's a Miyuki tube. You can see here I have my same 3 sizes that are going to work. I have my 15-0 Miyuki. I have my 15-0 Toho, and I have my 11-0 Delica. So from top to bottom to top, the 15-0 Mayuki, you can get 33 beads to fit. For our 15-0 Toho, we can get 29. And our 11-0 Delicas, we can get 26 beads to fit in the width of our tube. And again, I have your picture here of the sizing of that tube. Now here is where we're going to switch up our tubes again. What we looked at previously, those last three that we looked at here, these were all Mayuki slide tubes. So we have our three sizes there. Now we go into Beadalon cord ends. So the cord ends, again, are made by Beadalon, and there's two sizes. There's a 23 millimeter and a 30 millimeter. These tubes can be used with 15s, 11-0 delicas, and 11-0 round beads. The reason they can be used like that is because if we hold up the tube is actually a little bit larger in diameter, so it will allow us to get those regular 11-0 seed beads inside of that tube. So again, we've got what our tube looks like. We have our skew, and Beadalon is great because they give us even more info that it has a 0.90 inner diameter, a 2.44 inner diameter. It has a 0.096 slit, and the width of that slit is 0.744. So they give us a ton of info. But the easiest thing here, I've got your sizing with the inches ruler on that. And like I said, we have a lot more beads that we can use on this one. So with this type and size, which is that 23 millimeter, we can use a 15-0 Mayuki. We can use a 15-0 Toho. You can use an 11-0 Delica, an 11-0 Mayuki seed bead, an 11-0 Preciosa seed bead, and an 11-0 Toho brand seed bead. So we get 6 different kinds of beads, sizes, types, brands, whatever you want to look at. We can get 6 different ones from that 23 millimeter slide tube. And again, you can see here with our size 15-0s, we get 18 beads. Our 15-0 Tohos, we get 16. Our 11-0 Mayukis, we get 14 beads. 11-0 Mayuki round. So see, I've got Delica, or now we got the round. You can get 13 beads. The 11-0 Preciosa, we can get 13 beads. And the 11-0 Toho, we can get 11 beads. Now, as I started doing this, I started to notice that the 11-0 Preciosa and the 11-0 Mayukis must have the same width of bead, because for almost every one of these, you're going to notice that they have the same count that can be used for those. So that one is a 23. Now, let's take a look at the 30 millimeter. All right, our size 30 millimeter, you can see here, has a nice long bar with a really nice size tube on it. We have our barcode and we have our dimensions here along with our sizing. And again, we're going to get 6 kinds of beads. So we've got our 15-0 Mayuki, our 15-0 Toho brand, our 11-0 Delica, 11-0 Mayuki round bead, 11-0 Preciosa, and 11-0 Toho bead. So we get all of these different beads for the slide. So for our 15-0 Mayuki, we get 24 beads. For our 15-0 Toho, we get 20 beads. For our 11O Mayuki Delicate, we get 19 beads. 11O Mayuki Seed Beads, we get 17. 11O Preciosa, we get 17. And then with our 11O Toho, we get 15 beads. Now that finishes that one, let's look at the other size and kind that Beadalon carries in our tubes. So now we move on to the Beadalon slide connectors. Now the difference of these, number one, is these come standard with a lobster claw and an extender chain, as you can see here. Now you completely can cut this off and attach whatever kind of clasp that you want to, completely up to you. But also what makes these different is I want you to look at the diameter of the tube itself. So these are the last two Beadalon connectors that I showed you. And you can see there how much bigger the tube is than this one. So when you start using these, we are going to drop off. We can no longer use size 15s, but we get to add now size 8 seed beads when we do these. So I tried some size 6 seed beads, but they were just a smidge too big. But if you took an awl and put it in here in this little slit that you have, you can actually make this a little bigger to take the size 6s, but I don't suggest it. You'll mess up that nice pretty barrel that you have there. So with this, they come in 3 sizes. They come in a 13, which is here. They come in a 20 millimeter and a 26 millimeter. So you can see here the sizing of this, and then I've got there the picture of the tube so you can see it. Now again, from bottom to top here, on this one, we start out with our delicate beads, and it will take 9 odd count beads. Then we have our 11O Mayuki seed beads. This one will take 9 beads as well. Our 11O Preciosa, 9 beads. Our 11O Tohos will take 7. Our 8O Mayuki will take 6 beads. And our 8O, or no, I'm sorry, that was Mayuki. I think I said that. And then our 8O Toho brand is going to take 6. Now, here's the thing with the Toho beads. And I put a special note on here that they're going to be a very tight fit for the 6 beads. But when I dropped it down to 5 beads, that seemed too short for the tube. So you're just kind of have to use your discretion if you're using that size 8 Toho seed bead with either 6 even count beads or 5 odd count beads. So this will take care of our 13 millimeter in the Beadalon slide connector. So our next size is a 20 millimeter. So you can see here, this is what our 20 millimeter looks like. Again, because it's the slide connector, it comes standard with your clasp. And you can see here on the sizing. Again, we can use all the same type beads that we used with our 13 millimeter. So we have our 11O Delica, 14 beads. Our 11O Mayuki. Now, again, I have a special note here for you. So 12 even count beads fit, but you could probably squeeze one more bead and get 13 beads for that count. Your Preciosa is 13 beads. Your Toho here is 11. Your Mayuki 8s are 9 beads, and then your Tohos are 8 beads. And all of these fit really well with that 20 millimeter slide. Okay, the final one we have for our packet is a 26 millimeter slide connector. Again, we have our sizing here, and then this will give you a really up close view of the actual size of the tube. Again, we've got the same beads that we can use, but our counts are much larger. So for our Miyuki Delica, we have 19 beads. For our 11-0 Miyukis, you can fit 18. For our Preciosa beads here, we've got 16, which is, again, you know, this one was kind of weird, and it could just be the finish of this bead because I used a different color. But you can see there is a difference in their counts, and up until this point, they've all been the same. So the 11-0 Toho beads, we've got 14 beads. For our 8-0 Miyuki, we have 13. And then for our 8-0 Toho, we have 11 beads. So once you actually have your clasp chosen, then you are ready to finish off the ends. So I have a video here from 2018 that I did on how to add this slide clasp. So if you downloaded this from the website, you will actually notice that this is a clickable link. So if you're looking at this on an electronic device, you can click this with your finger or with your mouse or whatever, and this will take you straight to the video. Otherwise, keep watching because I'm going to show you how I did that for this one here. Once you have your piece complete, then you need to prep your piece to be able to go into the slide tube. So what we want to do is we're going to take, whether you're doing a square stitch or you're doing a peyote stitch, we're going to prep this the same way. Now with peyote stitch, I'm going to take and square stitch a bead above every bead sticking up here on the end. So this just simply means I'm going to come out of a bead, pick up a bead, and come back through the same bead so that now that bead sits right above it. Your tube cannot slide over these beads right here because there's no space for it to slide. But by adding these square stitch beads, it now has a place that it can slide in and be done with. So once I add it, I go back through and I reinforce that bead again. Now you could do it 3 times if you wanted to, but 2 times is sufficient. And then you will pass through the beads very carefully to come out of the next bead sticking up on your row. And you pick up one bead, come back around, make sure it's laying the way it should here. Let me see. What happened here? Looks like I missed the bead. Let me go back and fix that right there. So if that happens, don't try to stitch back through it. Just grab that bead, pull it, and you can see there, now we're ready to go. So I'm just going to thread the needle back on. Just 1 second here. There we go. And then I'll be ready to now come back through the bead so that it does just like this. And then I'll reinforce. And then pass through the next bead to come here. And then I would do this all the way across, just adding these little square stitch beads. Once you have your little square stitch beads added and your thread is tied off or stitched off, however you like to do it, then you are ready to add your slide tube. So I'm going to take and look here at the tube. You can see that it has my slit here on this side. So I'm going to form this, you can see there, to where I can slide those beads, and that space we now have will allow us to slide it all the way across those beads. So our last row that we square stitched is hidden inside of this tube now. And then you can take a pair of pliers and bend these 2 ends down so that your piece will now look like this. Okay, guys, I hope that you are now educated on all things slide tube connectors and that this packet will help you be able to pick the size that is going to work best for your project. Remember, go over to offthebeadedpath.beadstore.com and grab this free download today. Hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.